I am Zatu, the narrator, the unseen voice that guides you through this grand adventure. You, the listener, can hear my words, yet the characters within this tale remain oblivious to my presence. I am your window into their world, your guide to the secrets and intricacies of those who dwell within it. Like Watu the Watcher, I am bound by the sacred code of non-interference. I cannot sway the tides of fate, nor dictate what paths our heroes will tread. I am but the weaver of stories, the scribe of destiny, chronicling events as they unfold. Brace yourself, for the journey ahead promises wonder, peril, and revelations beyond imagination. Let us step into the tale together as I unveil its mysteries to you.
Welcome back to LMG Presents Marvel Multiverse RPG. My name is Jordan. I am the narrator of this podcast, but today I will not be narrating. Today I am joined again by the one and only Fuzzy from Fuzzy on the Details.
Hello, hello. Thanks, Jordan, for having me again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like we had such an excellent conversation last time. I was like, oh, I definitely want to get him back on and talk to you again and just see how things are going. I mean, last time we talked, there was a brand new book that came out. And of course, this time there's another brand new book that just came out.
And it's been, I've said it before, but I am really enjoying this Spider-Verse book. Not the biggest Spider-Man fan, but I tell you, there's so much good stuff in this book. I've been having so much fun with it, and in some ways, it's kind of like revitalized some games that I've been playing. So yeah, I've thoroughly been enjoying it, and it seems to be pretty well received as well.
Yeah, I've definitely been diving into it. I am also not like the biggest Spider-Man fan, but once this came out, I kind of wanted to kind of build my own Spider-Man character. And so I was like, once I got this, I was like, okay, now I want to play around. I created a character. It was kind of funny. I named it. Uh, Spider Pickle. So if you know like Rick from Rick and
Is it Pickle
Morty,
Rick? Oh my God,
yes,
that's
yes.
amazing.
So I created a pickle version of it named Pickle D Parker. And so I kind of gave him some of the powers that Miles Morales has, where he can like shoot venom, but instead of venom, he shoots like vinegar. So yeah,
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
awesome.
I was having a
Does he
good
have
time
like a
with it.
little mech suit, that he makes out
So,
of like rat
so
parts?
for his background, he was a pickle in the military, and he actually got experimented on. Scientists were trying to, what was it? Scientists were trying to cure the what I call the vinegar poison, which basically turned cucumbers into pickles. And doctor tried to combine some of the spider pickle venom into him, and that's ultimately how he got his powers. So, and I also
That's
wanted to play with
amazing.
those. I also wanted to play with the stunts too, because when I watched your video, when you did, reviewing the book and everything,
Mm.
stunts was one of the things I was like, okay, let me see how that works. And so once I actually got into creating the character on Demiplane, I was like, oh, stunts, that is really cool, actually.
Yeah, and probably by the time this comes out, this conversation comes out, I will have released my stunts deep dive, which will be my first one. Which just goes through the rules, but also gave me an opportunity to talk about why you would create a stunt. For what type of character would you want that stunt? Like when you need um, a little something special to differentiate one use of a power versus another. And
Hmm.
it's just fun to think. It's fun to like look at the nine stunts that they've got and kind of look at what they have in common. And it kind of gives you some guidelines for, right, if I was to create my own, how do I not make it OP? Right.
Yeah.
Like, how do I just make sure I'm not because stunts are going to be a huge part of the game coming up. I happened to
Oh,
talk
yes.
to the Marvel guys, and they said, there really aren't a lot of power sets that they have yet to introduce to the game. Like, we're we're
Hmm.
pretty we're pretty good there. We might have some more powers, coming out that fit into those sets, but it's not going to be a ton. However, we are going to see a lot of power stunts coming out, in for several books to come, I would imagine. So that's
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Oh, that's actually pretty good news. Like I wonder, yeah, now you got me wondering like what stunts, because I immediately thought about like maybe elemental stuff, and more particular, like when I think about fire, I just think about like characters like Pyro or anybody who can control fire can like make like like a dragon's head or like flaming whips or
Hmm.
just stuff like that. I wonder like if would they try to incorporate some type of stunt into that. Like my brain is like moving to see like what other powers could we use the stunts.
Yeah, I mean, you can get really creative because the rules say you can use it. The prerequisite can be either a power or an origin or a piece of equipment, but there's really no reason it couldn't be a trait too. For example, if it
Hmm.
could be an origin, then why not an occupation? So, really, I think there's a lot you can do with those. Um, for me, the first one I thought about is like if you have two very similar characters, ways to make them feel a little different could be by giving them a stunt. So one of the examples I used or I will use in the video that I am in the process of making now, but will be out, is looking at the difference between Laura Kinney and Logan.
Okay.
And they both have adamantium claws and they both have very similar powers, but Laura's got that foot claw that Logan doesn't have. And if you read the comics and you look at the art, many times she's displayed as like acrobatically making her way through a field
Yeah.
of villains, right? She's cartwheeling around all over the place. So I've got one stunt in there that takes that into consideration. Like maybe there's a way she can get to an extra enemy in certain circumstances. Logan's only got two limbs. Laura's got four that she can use.
Right.
So I've got one stunt that incorporates that. And another thing, there was one comic where she fights Taskmaster.
Hmm.
And Taskmaster starts the battle kicking her butt a little bit, and he's getting cocky and he's saying, like, you can't beat me. I'm Taskmaster. Anything you can do, I can anticipate. And she goes to kick him in the head, and he grabs her foot and he starts bragging again, like, see, that's what I mean. You can't, and then you hear snicked, and the blade comes out of her foot, and he's like, ah! And he's like, he's
Was not
that's
expecting that.
the
Right.
right, that's the end. So I'm like, hey, maybe there's like what kind of effect is that? Maybe that's a stun effect. So perfect. That would be an example of like that attack. She wasn't really trying to do the most damage. So maybe it's not the bleed condition on the special effect, but maybe it's the stun condition because she caught him by surprise. So,
Mm.
I mean, for me, ultimately going back and reading the comics with the idea of stunts in mind, it's like every comic I read now in the back of my mind, I'm like, what is this character's signature move, and how does that differ from the rules we have it in the book? And if the rule doesn't perfectly fit your conception of that power as you read it in the comic, then just twist it a little bit, and there you go.
I wonder now, like, did they get inspiration from I mean, of course, I know they work with Marvel, and people at Marvel know their comics. But I wonder, like, if that's the type of research that it did, where they was like, okay, we see that, I think Spider-Man, one of the stunts is the handcuff. I can't remember the exact name of it,
Yeah, I
but
think it's just spider cuffs,
Spider
I think.
cuffs. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like, were they kind of reading the comic and it was like, oh, well, Spider-Man did this flip, handcuff both these guys at the same time, cuff them with each other. There's a stunt right there. Like, I wonder if that's the type of research that was done, or were they just some of the creators just like, hey, I have an idea. This would be pretty cool. Let's kick it like this.
Well, I know that they looked back at the original TSR
Which
phase
I,
rip version of the
uh-huh.
game because there was something called power stunts. In fact, I think even previously, a couple minutes ago, I called them power stunts instead of stunts because that's what they're called in phase rip. And they did say, because I asked them, and they did say, yes, they looked to that at least for inspiration. They didn't really mine it like, oh, we have to port these over, but at least for that high level inspiration, they did look back to the original game.
Okay. And I feel like did you mention that on your interview with the Demi Plane people?
Yeah, I mentioned that in
Okay.
if it wasn't the demiplane video, it was the one before. But yeah, I mentioned that recently. Yeah,
Oh,
I think it was for the developers update
okay.
video. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, while we're talking about the book and the game and everything, we had a couple erratas come, or not erratas, Tony's workshop. come
Hmm.
out. What do you feel? I saw that you hosted a little group recently
Yeah.
and you tested it out. What do you think about the changes to first of all, I want to talk about the stun effect because in my group, I tried to introduce it to them and one of the guys, that's his whole thing. Like he wants to be able to stun enemies where they can't even take a turn. Now, when I first read it, I was like, "Oh, I would love to make this change." And I realized like, oh, I was getting stunned out of turns, like when I was playing with the villains. Like I realized how powerful stun can be. Because like
Yeah.
oftentimes I don't think about, why did they want to errata this or did somebody take advantage of this? But then when it kept happening to him, I was like, oh, I see. I see. So what do you feel about the kind of the turning workshops when they're around the stun stuff?
So I guess the first thing I'll say is it, and I don't want to diminish the change at all, but it almost doesn't matter because for any condition, whatever the rule is for the good guys is the rule for the bad guys.
Right.
So it is by nature balanced.
Hmm.
So that said, um, the other thing that I noticed by doing the play test, and we had 3 sessions or 3 separate combats that we ran, and we had 16 people total take part. So it was uh, so it was really healthy a chunk of playing that we got in. The one thing we noticed is about 50% of the time when somebody landed a fantastic success that would have put the stun condition on somebody, they killed the character anyway. So it's like, okay, wasn't really expecting this. So in a way that sort of halved in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is such a big change. And I'm like, all right, it's actually not quite as big as I thought because I was forgetting, yeah, on the Fantastic, you're doing double damage most of the
Right.
time anyway. So, and typically when you do double damage in this game, you can put somebody down pretty quick. So that's number one. Um, the other thing is, really tried to approach it with an open mind, and I wasn't really sure about some of the things, but playing it, I'm like, you know what? I actually like it even as a narrator. I like it much better without like the opportunity for stun lock. It's
Uh-huh.
still impactful and it makes you think about different tactical things you can do, which is good. So you're always thinking instead of just saying, "Oh, I can't do anything, skip my turn." You think you might be thinking, "Oh, if I got to, depending on whether you got a double uh, trouble or a single trouble on your attacks. It's like, well, do I want to use an attack or do I want to use something that doesn't involve a roll, like the
Yeah.
help command?" And then I started thinking like, uh, or, uh, or the help action. I started thinking, you know, how how do we how would this work in like uh, a movie or a comic book? And I was thinking of, we're talking about Daredevil a little off the mics earlier. And one of the classic moves that you see in Daredevil is he gets the snot beat out of him, right? And then he has that moment where he's lying on the ground and the blood drips from his nose, whatever, and you get the slow motion,
And then the muffled out sounds and all that.
yeah, and then he gets back up. So what's going on there? He's probably stunned, and he's probably like using either I can do this all day, or he's using a point of karma, maybe to get some health back, or he's using the help condition, so his next attack can be even better. So he's gathering himself. So even though he might not consciously make an attack because he would have double trouble, he's still doing something. And I'm like, boy, you could turn this rule and make the game even more cinematic by having the option to just, all right, I've got trouble on me. I'm not going to waste it. Let me do something that's going to buff me or even buff an ally. Use inspiration to
Yeah.
take an opportunity to buff an ally. So that was one of the other things that came out that I wasn't really expecting, that this change can actually make you think more about tactics or make you think more about powers you don't maybe use as much as you normally do.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like a perfect opportunity to go to like defensive stance. Like you just got rocked, your head is ringing right now. I'm dazed a little bit. Let me go ahead and get a defensive stance and get ready for the next attack about to come at me.
That's a
Um, that could
great
also help you
example.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I, you know, I trust the guys at Marvel that, the reason they're making this change is because they probably got an overwhelming amount of feedback. And while there might be people that are resistant to it, I'm sure the numbers don't lie,
yeah,
that they probably heard more people saying that, there should be a change there. And
yeah.
thus far, I think all the changes that they've made, I mean, they're so receptive to feedback. All the changes they've made, look at like the webcasting
Oh yeah,
changes and
because that thing right there, I'm telling you right now, webcasting that thing was tearing me up when I played against someone with Spider-Man.
yeah,
Oh my goodness, I could not get out of anything. So yeah, I welcome that change. I was happy about that one.
yeah. I think you told you the very first game of MMORPG I played with my daughter, and I webbed her, and I was like, uh-oh, like,
Yeah,
like this ain't good. She's never getting out of this.
yeah, that was definitely a welcome change. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean the people are listening, over at Marvel and the creators of the game to feedback. So that's definitely a good thing. I guess I just want to kind of hop back in the book. What are some of the big things in this book that kind of you were happy to see? So for me, it's funny because we had released an episode where we did a one man solo adventure, and I had it
Mm.
to where he had um not sidekicks, but basically family. Like
Oh
we
yeah.
he had friends, which is funny. I actually the way I did it was how the book actually described it, and this was before the book it came out. It was like I basically had a list of characters. I rolled dice for them, see, was this a love interest, was it a friend, a best friend, a parent, and so that's kind of how we switched. That's how I chose people. So I was like, to see that actually end up in the book, I was like, oh, I really like that change. And it wasn't too far off from what I was actually doing. And also just gives me thoughts. There's a loner adventure section in here where it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I can really do that if I want to flesh out my other characters' kind of origin story. I feel like a lot of times, like we create characters and we talk about the origin story, but this would be a chance for them to actually play through the origin story and kind of fill in some of the details that might not even think about. So it's like, what are some of the things that you were happy that the book kind of brought out?
Yeah, and I listened to the first of the origin stories that you did for your actual play with Blazer.
Yeah,
And that was a lot of fun. And especially because you brought in his mother, um and
he had his arch rival and a
yeah,
friend. Hmm.
yeah, so you had all of that stuff in there, as well as like, some of the familiar baddies.
Yeah.
I think you had like what, Blob,
I
and
had
Pyro,
Pyro.
Blob.
Yeah, that's
Was
who it
Toad?
was.
Was it Toad too?
No, it was actually I made up a character. He was dealing with them, not the Marauders. What's the holy people? And they always want to kill all
Oh, the
mutants. Yeah, the
purifiers. Yeah, that was
Purifiers.
it.
That's
That
what it
was it.
was.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I mean, that's I think that's fantastic, and I'm wired the same way. In fact, just before we got on, me and Fish, one of the guys from my actual play, were talking about incorporating someone like that into the campaign, like a little bit of a like a little bit of a sidekick, but like a minor character, and
Hmm.
uh, and that's great because it just gives you. I think some people, if they approach this game like it's I don't know, like some sort of war game or something, uh, that's not what the game is supposed to be. Comic books always have, especially if you're reading a Spider-Man comic, the familial drama, or even an X-Men comic, the freaking drama, that goes
Oh
on, the
yeah, that's a whole
relationships,
thing.
and like that's such a big part of the comics. So, I really like the fact, like one things I remember when listening to some very early Matt Forbeck interviews, and he's done it in some recent ones as well, as he talks about what he wanted this game to feel like, is he wanted it to feel like a Marvel game, not a superhero game, but specifically a Marvel game. And this book is a perfect example of how you do that. You look at the things that make Spider-Man, Spider-Man, and then you bring that into the game. It's not just the mechanics like, oh, well, we're going to have a power called fastball special. And that's no, it goes much deeper than that. Like the getting schooled rules are rooted in X-Men and New Mutants and all of, that idea of these young kids not in control of their powers, having to come up and slowly, iteratively get better. So yeah, they do such a good job of that. And this book is no different.
Definitely agree. One of the things that's also kind of helped me out too, which I'm pretty sure the X-Men books did do, but the random encounters. That
Yeah.
is something I feel like sometimes I I feel like I don't know if I lose my imagination just doesn't work sometimes, but it's like what type of scenarios can I put these characters into? What situation can I put them into? And I think the random encounters thing, like it definitely helped. Especially I would say definitely more with the X-Men book. They introduced not situation rooms. I don't know why I'm
Oh,
going
Danger
blank.
Room. Yeah.
Danger room. Yeah. Like we that was when I saw that and I was like, oh, when we get to a point where we're able to run the danger room, that was the first thing I did. I was like, I want to run a danger room situation. And so we were able to run that. And so I like this book also included the random encounters, is that helps me get my brain kind of going as well.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I really love about these books is there really is something for everyone, and I've talked about the way they split the books up where you've got this lore stuff. For somebody like me, the beginning of this book, the first 40% of this book, so much more useful for me than the first 40% of the X-Men book. Because like you read from me, somebody like me, where X-Men was always my thing,
You know all the stuff.
I could have written that,
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm joking. I don't mean to demean, but let's just say I
I get it.
knew almost everything that was in there. So, but the Spider-Verse book, I'm like learning stuff. I'm like, oh crap. And then I'm actually like, you know what? Maybe I will look back and pick up a couple of these old
I,
comics and give it a go.
I feel like when I got to the section of other Spider-Man characters, I was like, I feel like a brand new person who ever picked up a comic book. I didn't know half of these characters. Like I had heard of a couple of them, of course, but it's like to actually read and do deep dives on them, I was like, oh, I don't know any of these characters. And then once we got to the characters in the back section, I was like, oh yeah, I don't recognize anybody. So I was like, yes, it was kind of nice to because when you know comics, you know things already. So it's kind of nice to have a fresh mind looking at these characters for the first time. I was like, and then I was like, oh okay. And then I was wondering like, okay, are these characters correctly ranked? Like, is this truly a level 3 character, level 4 character? It's like, I have no idea. I was like, I only thing I could do is compare them. Are they better than Miles or Peter? I was like, in my head, I was like, is this guy better than Miles? Is he better than Peter? That was
Yeah.
my ranking.
And I gotta say, there's a couple of the characters that I had so much fun with in the play testing that we did. So we really looked at characters that could use some sort of stun. So one of them was uh Boomerang,
Okay,
because
recognize
he
Boomerang.
he can he can use he can apply any effect he wants. So he's got like a boomerang for everything. So
Hmm.
he can just choose any special effect to put on his uh on his boomerang. And it's like, all right, well, that's one, a really cool iconic weapon, but two, he can definitely uh he can definitely choose stun there. So I'm like, all right, we're we're gonna bring boomerang in. And the other one was speed demon.
See, that was
Uh
one I didn't recognize. I don't recognize that name.
the only thing I recognized speed demon from was the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon, where he showed up in like episode 2 or 3 or something like that.
Oh wait, talking about the most recent one?
Yeah, yeah. So it was him and the woman that got the tech from Octavius.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Speed Demon.
I don't even think I even caught that at all. I'm on like episode 4, I think. My
Yeah.
kids recently started
Yeah, but
watching
you
it.
know the guy, the speedster, right? Like he
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I did
Yeah, that was Speed
not.
Demon.
It's funny when I saw him, I was like, is that Quicksilver? And after that, I didn't think nothing about it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they
I
said his
didn't
name or who
know
it was.
anything about him. Like I'll be honest, like I only knew that from watching some YouTube videos afterwards, and somebody's like, oh,
Oh,
that's, I'm
okay.
like, who the heck is Speed Demon? Never heard of him. Again, Spider-Verse character, not super big into Spider-Man comics. So anyway, we played him too. Both of those characters, those profiles, were so much fun to play. I'm actually gonna run a little one shot incorporating a couple of kind of B-level villains like
Yeah.
Boomerang and Speed Demon. I'm going to use Beetle, as they're all going to be rank 3. I'm going to use Beetle and then Shocker as well. Because
Okay.
they were all in there was a comic or two where they were all kind of hanging out together and on a team together. So I'm like, that might be kind of fun. But yeah, like those characters were really well done. Like Boomerang especially was surprisingly fun to play.
Okay.
Uh,
I would say so. It's funny we swing on characters kind of you don't normally play with. I have an episode coming. It'll probably come out a few weeks after this one, but I got to play as Ultron, and I was like,
oof.
oh, this is going to be an amazing time playing as Ultron. But in the middle of the battle, like I realized I don't know how to play with Ultron. I was like, I just felt like I was so underwhelming as Ultron. I was like, I thought I was going to be like, I thought I was going to wipe out the other guys, um, and I was playing, and I was just like. I know Ultron is not weak at all, but I was like, but the
Mm.
way I was playing with Ultron, I was like, anybody could beat Ultron. I was like, I realized like there's some characters like I'm really good at role playing as, and knowing the powers and knowing how they work, and there's other characters I'm just like, oh yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing with these guys.
See, now that's a good example of how Spider-Verse as a book can help non-Spider-Verse games as much as Spider-Verse games
Hmm.
because if you look at the movies, right? Is Ultron ever alone? No, Ultron's surrounded by a million bots.
Yes.
So that is a perfect opportunity to use some of the new rules. One, use the henchman rules, right? Get a bunch of robot henchmen in there
Hmm.
that he can have on his side, and then use sinister plots,
Mm.
and then all of a sudden Ultron's got, all of this karma like stuff that he can do. And now and that includes, if you give him enough, I mean, he's high enough rank, but if you give him enough bots and he can use all of their sinister plot points, even if they're all one, well, he can use all of them. So you give him 6 and yeah, that means he can like revive himself up to like max health and uh and focus during the battle. And it's like, oh crap, we just beat him. We got to beat him again. And like the way you can incorporate that into a game is by just have his consciousness flip out of one robot and go into another. And now you got,
Yeah.
so there's like so many. That's why I love this book so much is because it really isn't a Spider-Verse only book. Yeah, most of the profiles are Spider-Verse, and yeah, the first part is Spider-Verse, but that 20% of the book that is rules is dense. There is so much value in that 20%, the 50 pages or so.
Yeah. It was like, and another thing with the book that I really want to get into, I want to create my own Venom or symbiote.
Mm,
I don't know why I said Venom. I want to create my own symbiote. I think that would be pretty fun to do. And this book kind of presented you with options where, you can use one of the ones that are already out there in
yep.
the universe, or you can try to create your own. I think that might be the next thing I kind of want to get into is creating my own Venoms or my own symbiote. I don't know why I keep saying Venom, but my own symbiote. Um, but
Hey, he's the OG.
I know. I was like, there's all the other ones, but I'm like, who honestly kind of cares about all the other ones? Honestly, my favorite symbiote is Carnage. I thought Carnage was an amazing symbiote. I know a lot of people love Venom, but I've always liked Carnage more.
I think I was still picking up the odd Spider-Man comic when Carnage came out, but I didn't really get into like I didn't really read any like the Absolute Carnage comics or any of those
Hmm.
ones. So I don't know a lot about Carnage. And I'll be honest, I never saw the Let There Be Carnage
You know what?
movie too.
That's funny because that's almost like a perfect segue of what I want to talk to you about next, about movies and stuff. But the Venom 2, I thought Woody Harrelson was a terrible Cletus Cassidy. He
Yeah,
would not have been my choice for Cletus. I was like, he just did not have the Cletus look. Like, it didn't work. Now, the movie itself, I don't think it was that good, but I really enjoyed Carnage in it.
yeah.
But I just did not like Woody Harrelson's Cletus. But since we're talking about movies, I want to get your feelings on a couple Marvel movies that came out. So,
Yeah,
did you go see Brand New World?
I did.
All right,
Um,
what's your thoughts on that?
um, wasn't my favorite. I guess, yeah, I mean, didn't hate it. I don't think there's ever been a Marvel made movie that I disliked, but yeah, it didn't certainly didn't sing to me. Um, I just felt like there were a lot of like weird little plot holes. I felt like there were characters that were extraneous. Um, it's like one of those movies where you can just feel like they hack some stuff up, based on,
Yes.
the viewings, and like certain characters were so minimized. It's like, why are you even in this movie anymore? Like the Sabra character. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're still in this movie, because then there was the other character whose name I forgot, the tall black woman. Her and Sabra, it's like, okay, you've got two characters that are similar enough that you probably could have merged them into the same character and given one character more time.
Hmm.
And then there was the guy that died that was and I didn't even realize this until after I left the movie theater. That was D-Man. The bearded guy. If you look at his name in the credits, it's like, yeah, he's D-Man. Like, the guy that's half
I
Daredevil, half Wolverine.
Yeah, if that's who that was supposed to be, I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer, right? Because he's kind of a fun character.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
I did not realize that was who that was supposed to be.
yeah, unless I'm like wildly mistaken there, which I might be. But yeah, I think, so there are certain things that's like what are you like? I believe me, I understand putting little Easter eggs in there, but this you were pumping him up as a fairly significant supporting character. And like I don't understand how you can do that and have it be unrecognizable to Marvel fans.
Yeah.
Uh, until you read the credits and you're like, wait a minute, why is that name familiar?
Yeah, I did not catch that at all.
And the leader was unimpressive. I thought like uh, Harrison Ford was amazing.
Yeah, they should have made him turn into Red Hulk a little sooner, in my opinion, because
Yeah,
there was a lot of signs and there was like really good opportunities for them to kind of let him explode, really see that anger. Because of course he kept trying to withhold that anger in the entire time, but it's like
yeah,
he should have went, and we talked about it in our review on our main podcast, but the ship scene, I think that's when he should have went Red Hulk during the ship scene. Like
yeah,
I thought that was an opportunity that they missed on that one.
yeah. So I am extremely psyched for Thunderbolts. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at the time of this recording, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Oh, I didn't know
So
that. I'm definitely in there.
yeah, I'm picking those up. I'm very excited about that group, the tone as well. I'm looking forward to a fun Marvel movie. I feel like we haven't had, well, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously very, very fun
Oh yeah.
movie. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that big time. Seeing Sentry should be like pretty cool on the big screen.
I know I had a friend ask me, do you think he's gonna have his alter ego? And I was like, I feel like that would be a end of the movie Easter egg type thing where he kind of goes into is more
More of the Void.
brutal. Yeah, the void.
Oh, I think we're gonna get
You think
that.
it's gonna get early?
I think we've already seen it in the trailer. You see it in the trailer. You
Well, hang
see,
on.
you have
I gotta
okay.
say,
Yeah,
that's perfect. Okay, do you watch trailers or do you skip
yes,
them?
I
Okay,
watch trailers.
I only, and I changed, I think it was Doctor Strange, not the multiverse. Yes, the multiverse. That trailer spoiled a lot of stuff for me. And so
Yeah.
from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm only going to watch whatever the first trailer or teaser is. So like I've only ever seen the first teaser for Thunderbolts. And
Okay.
so
Okay. And
like
that was like the I'm Bob.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
like
Okay.
that's only, and so like since I took on that mentality, like I've enjoyed like movies just in general a lot more because trailers these days show way too much. And I think the audience agrees. And so it's like I try to only stick to whatever the first, unless it's, and then I try to watch no trailers. If it's a movie that I know 1000%, I do not want to know anything. I was like, I try to not watch it at all. So, but it's like Marvel, I have to watch it. The Deadpool Wolverine, I was completely shocked at all the characters that we saw in that movie because I had
Yeah,
only ever watched the first teaser. And so I
yeah.
was completely shocked there. But Thunderbolts, you think so? You think he's going to show up early, just based on what you've seen so far? Void.
Um, there really isn't any indication of when,
Okay.
but I mean, not like early. It feels like we'll probably get just like in the comics, right? You get Bob first. You see Bob walking around, putzing around in the facility where he's looking for drugs. So we introduced to Bob first, and then we're introduced to Sentry, and then we're introduced to the Void. So I think we'll hit it in that same order in the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I was telling her, I was like, I think that'd be one. They, whatever the end of the movie is, like, Bob wakes up, but it's not Bob, and it's Void, and like, I don't know,
Yeah.
black credits. So, um, yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how the Thunderbolt goes. I really hope they do Taskmaster right this time. I did not enjoy that Taskmaster that we got to see previously. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
they really butchered that one.
and what's interesting, I don't think they ever even called her Taskmaster in the movie.
I don't think they did it. I
And
think
they
did they mention like this is my task? No, I don't know. I don't remember. It's been too long since I've
maybe,
seen it. Yeah.
maybe, but I mean, I just look at that as that's just a different character. I mean, it is. It's a different character. It's
Yeah.
not everything about her is different. So I don't look at that as like the Taskmaster. I think we'll get the what's his name, Tony Masters, right?
Hmm.
I think we'll get the Tony Masters version of the Taskmaster at some point in the MCU. I think he's such a big uh villain. He's up there like with Crossbones, right? We got
Right.
Crossbones, so it's like
I mean, I think he's even more popular than Crossbones in my opinion.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
mean, I think we've seen he. I remember the Avengers game. He was in that game. But I feel like we've seen Crossbones. I'm not Crossbones. Taskmaster in other media before. I mean, of
yeah.
course, cartoons and all that. But like, I remember the Avengers game specifically. I remember you fight against him,
Yeah. I mean, the only argument against it would be is like you look at his outfit, and that's like a kind of a tough outfit
pull off
to translate
into
into,
real life.
movie. Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they were like, hey, we're never gonna have a super comic accurate Taskmaster. But then my answer to that would be like then update his costume in the comics, like
Yeah.
so many other characters have updated their costume. You know, when Power Man and Iron Fist came out, those characters are not wearing the same clothes in the comics now as they did back in the 70s.
Right.
Um, I mean, I remember reading some of those old comics. It's like, why is this karate guy dressed like a ballerina? Like, I don't understand.
I would definitely
Um,
say, also to be fair, they've been trying to over these last of like I don't know, maybe decade or so, last 5 years, they've been trying to really go for comic accuracy though. Like with a little twist on it, I will say. They'll
yeah,
do a little twist on it, but they're trying to get very comic accurate.
yeah, where it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I think, Luke Cage is a good example because, you know, in the Netflix show, like there was one scene
Yeah, I
where
remember.
they had a flashback to him getting his powers, and they put him in his that metal helmet with like the little point coming down in the middle over his eyes,
And it had the yellow
which was
shirt.
yeah, and that was just like a flashback. That was like more of an Easter egg though. Like, all right, I
Right.
was like,
If
we
you
get
knew,
it,
you knew.
yeah, but we're not gonna dress him up like that in like for the whole show. Um, so but yeah. I mean, I just don't think we're going to see a lot of cloaks in the MCU anymore. So yeah, but who knows? Maybe we'll get one.
Do you
But the
think
character himself is a cool character, and it would be really cool, especially since as we're entering this phase in especially what's going on with Daredevil, like where we're creeping towards like anti-vigilante
yeah.
laws and stuff. And, that's kind of creeping back in. Now we get to the point where I think, Taskmaster was involved and in some of that stuff. I mean, Taskmaster was involved when Norman Osborn took over um, everything. He was one of his right hand men and
Yeah, the whole
in
Dark
training
Avengers
people.
era.
Yeah, and the initiative, he was one of the trainers there. So there's a lot of different ways they can bring him in as a not as a good guy, but I mean, he's a mercenary, right? He's the highest bidder. So if it's Wilson Fisk that wants to bring him on to train his next version, like, hey, maybe in a season two, if his goons get wiped, and by the time this comes out, we'll have had one or two. I guess we'll have the finale by the time this comes out, but maybe if his anti-vigilante squad gets completely wiped, he'll have to resort to somebody like a
What,
Taskmaster.
which would be a crazy cameo, by the way. If they brought Taskmaster in, that would be crazy. I would definitely enjoy that one. But it's like, with street level stuff, there's like so many characters you can bring in. Like just last night, it's funny because I feel like I'm always thinking about random Marvel stuff. I was like, man, it'd be nice to see a real Moon Knight show up in Daredevil.
It
I was
would.
like that, and I was like, dude, they're both in New York. Daredevil was always out at nighttime. Just imagine,
Hmm.
Daredevil looks up in full moon, and you just see a Moon Knight just standing there, gliding in the air. I'm just like, come on, man, that'd be perfect.
I mean,
It'll give a chance to get him a season. I know
I
he's not going to see two, but we'll see.
I love when I mean I that would be great. I would love that. And that reminds me of like one of my favorite scenes with Moon Knight and Taskmaster,
Oh yeah,
where like the scene where like somebody wants to Taskmaster to take on Moon Knight, and he's like, nope, that
yeah.
that guy is crazy.
He'd
This is the
he'd
guy in the
rather
skull
take the
mask.
punch.
Yeah, it's like I'll pass.
Yeah, yeah. That was. I was just thinking about that. I was like, yeah, that'd be really good. It'll get a chance to have Oscar Isaac kind of, take another shot at Moon Knight. And because Daredevil was R-rated, you'll be able to see a different side to Moon Knight versus them doing the one that we saw in the t television show.
Yeah. There's one character, speaking of characters that they didn't do comic accurate like Taskmaster. In season was it the last season of Jessica Jones, I think. They actually brought in Typhoid Mary, if you remember. But she
Is that
didn't
when
have the
everybody
crazy,
the split
half.
face?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they didn't go that route with her, so they really took a step back. Uh but yeah, they brought her in, and I love Typhoid Mary.
is that when
So
everybody was sick in the hospital on that season? I'm trying to remember when did she come
I
in? I was like, it's been so long
I
since I saw
only saw
Daredevil.
that I should rewatch it. I only saw that one once, so I
Okay,
don't remember, but I
yeah,
remember what the
I only
character
seen it
looks
once as
like.
well.
I remember what the character looks like, and but it got me thinking, like in the comics, Daredevil, sorry, well, in the Daredevil comics, Kingpin winds up with Typhoid Mary, like
Hmm.
fairly recently in the comics, and I thought that would be like a cool thing to if something happens with Vanessa, uh,
Yeah, still trying to
then
figure out what she's doing too. Like, I guess spoiler alert a little bit for
yeah,
Daredevil. I was like, is Vanessa about to betray Wilson? Is that what's going on? And then we saw what happened with him,
yeah,
the guy walking. I was like, oh, okay, okay.
yeah. I heard a lot of people that got very confused by that scene. Like, did she really try to kill him? I'm like, no, no,
She
she
completely
was
set the
in on
guy up.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, she set the guy up. I mean, like, I think the whole point, like, to me, that was obvious, but I think the whole point is to show that they're playing things extremely close to the chest,
right.
even though they're having marital issues, they're still tight with one another. So they're not going to let that get in the way of business. Um, so yeah, but yeah, yeah, if Vanessa had to go at the end of this season, let's say, it would be cool if he hooked up with Typhoid Mary.
That would be an interesting plot too, because then Vanessa is definitely going to be in some trouble having to deal with Miss Mary.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? I guess we'll keep it a little spoiler light. We kind of talked a little bit about Daredevil. What would you grade it so far? What do you think about it? Because I'm really enjoying it right now. It's definitely giving me the feelings of the Netflix series, and I love that Netflix series. I
Yeah.
think they've done a wonderful job keeping that same tone. So, what's your feelings on it?
Yeah, I love it. Um, it, the Netflix shows were so good,
Yeah.
right? So if the Netflix shows were like an A plus for me, then this is an A. I think it's only a tick below the Netflix shows only because of the back and forth they had to do. And you can kind of see the seams a little bit where they stitch some things together from the
Uh-huh.
original version. And then, uh, tonally, sometimes it bounces back and forth, but that's okay. The tone of comic books bounce back and forth too. Like we're,
Right. Depending on who the writer is.
yeah, like we're used to that. Uh, so that doesn't bother me. I've liked the sort of lighter episodes, like the bank episode
Yeah.
was a little lighter, but the way I look at it is the tone shifts, I think, is a little bit deliberate because right now you've got Matt Murdock who's not really being honest with himself. And he even says it at one point. I'll keep this where he talks about something feeling fake,
Yeah.
right? So he's telling us that he like his Matt Murdock is like the mask for him. Like that's not, he's trying to be light, he's trying to, play the part. Even when he's talking to the Ayala kid, oh, somebody will do it. It's like he's obviously not being honest to that kid,
Right.
and he's saying, so I think this is a character that is playing a role versus Frank in the episode. It's like the Punisher is just the fucking Punisher.
That
Like,
episode almost made me cry too.
oh,
Their conversation, their back and forth, and he was like,
mm,
say his name stuff.
yeah, oh,
Dude, I
oh,
almost started crying. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Like, I was not
mm,
that he did an excellent job again playing as Frank.
Bernthal, like, thank you for your service. Oh God, just like
Yeah, he's
so
really good
so
at that
good.
character.
Uh, and I don't think that's the last we've seen of him. This for season one. I
Hmm.
hope not. I hope he comes back in season two as well. I know we're going to get a special presentation
Oh yeah,
with
I'm
him.
looking forward to that. I really enjoy Werewolf by Night, that kind of special, one-off thing. And so I was like, if they do another one of those, I'm completely in.
Yeah. And I still, I've said this before, but Punisher season two on Netflix, I mean, I could rewatch that 1,000 times and not get bored with that.
Y- Yeah,
I- I think the single most underrated Netflix show. Um, I think it's amazing. I
yeah.
think I forgot if when it came because I think it was the second to last one that was released, and I think Jessica
It's-
Jones season three was the last, if I recall. I might be wrong on that, but
Yeah, I do remember it was like out of the original four, like that one was the last one to follow up
yeah.
all those.
So I think it suffered maybe a little bit from like people maybe checking out because like, oh well, if Netflix is going to end, then why should I watch this? So
Right.
I think maybe it slid a little under the radar. But yeah, if anyone listening hasn't checked out season two of Punisher, I mean, I love it.
I just
Yeah.
remember the season one. I don't know if it was the finale or when it was, but you see Jigsaw become Jigsaw. Like you see Frank take his face and like oh, when I watched that, I was like, I literally feel like I can feel what Jigsaw was feeling. I was like, that
Yeah.
looks so bad.
Yeah.
I
I
was
think
like,
that was the last episode of season one.
yeah,
Yeah.
that looks so bad. Him just
Yeah.
doing that to him. I was like, oh, I know that hurt so much.
And then what a great, given that Jigsaw is like the Punisher villain, right? Especially
Right.
when I was younger reading the comics, like he was, he was the guy. Um, to take a whole season to build up to him, and then he's obviously not Jigsaw until season two.
Hmm.
Uh, I thought was just really, really smart and just impactful, because then season two, like it just was that much more emotional to have him as a character in season two.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it's a great, 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 great season.
Yeah, I hope, whatever Disney chooses to do, kind of bring it back. If they bring back Luke Cage or Jessica Jones, or honestly, I keep telling people they can probably keep Iron Fist because I didn't really like him as I don't know if that's
Yeah,
his fault or it was the writing of the show. I don't know, but I was like they might get rid of him,
I
but I was
think
like
it's
I hope they keep the core group and keep the
I think it's
tone.
his fault. I think it's the writing of the show, and I think it's inherently the character. Like plenty of, you know, plenty of Asian actors that could be brought in to play the various Asian versions of Iron Fist,
Right.
and give an opera, still have it be. I mean, right? We've got two Iron Fists in the core rule book,
Yeah.
right? So obviously established enough to be in our game. So why not give one of those characters a chance to be on the big screen? Yeah, and yeah, I the only Danny Rand that I really liked was the cartoon version. There was
Oh, the Ultimate Spider-Man.
yeah, where
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
just
that
like
was
the surfer bro. It's like,
yeah,
yeah,
that
just
one was really good. That's my
yeah,
Iron Fist.
lean into who you are.
Yeah,
uh,
I remember when they announced those Netflix shows. Like, I was the most excited for the Iron Fist one because I was like, "Oh, I know we're gonna get some killer fight scenes." I was like, "I know this is gonna be amazing." And then for that one to be the weakest of the four or the three at that time, I was like, "Ah,
well, I tell
tragic."
you, I had read this at the time, so I don't know how true this is or not. But what I heard is that he didn't really train that hard, but Jessica Henwick, who played Colleen Wing, like was getting accolades for the amount of time she put into training. Like she went hard in her training. And you go
Hmm.
back and you look at that, it's like, yeah, I believe her as a fighter more than I believe him. Even in some of the promotional images, like the way he's standing is like just doesn't look like natural to me.
Yeah,
Like I just don't believe it. Uh, and if you're playing the Punisher, and pretty much every Punisher has done this. Every actor who's played the Punisher, like, you better train with some Marines and learn how
yeah,
to fire a gun. Because if
yeah.
you don't look good firing a gun, or if you don't have like trigger discipline or whatever, then people are gonna clock that and be like, I don't buy this performance. So yeah, if you're gonna be the Iron Fist, you better go hard
Right,
into
because
that
that's
training.
your one thing. Like Punisher, you are going to shoot people. Iron Fist, you are going to fight people. Like that's your one thing. And so whatever you do, you got to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, once I heard, and hopefully this isn't just a rumor, but once I heard that maybe he didn't train as hard as Jessica Henwick did, I'm like, it makes sense. So, yeah, I know he was begging over social
I
media,
saw
give
that.
give me a chance. It's like you had two chances, my friend. You had two chances,
I saw
three,
that.
three because of the Defenders.
Yeah.
You had two full seasons and the Defenders, so you had three strikes, man. That's it. You're out.
And the appearances you appeared on the other show. Didn't he did he appear on Luke Cage or no, that scene was during the Defenders. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, that was during Defenders. Yeah, I'm good with bringing back Jessica, Luke, and Daredevil, and even I was happy to even see Punisher, not Punisher. Well, Punisher, I want him back too, but Bullseye, like first
Yeah.
season, first episode of Daredevil, I was like, oh, let's go. He did an excellent job.
I want Misty Knight and Colleen Wing.
Oh yes, yes, they can come back too.
Oh, so badly. Daughters of the
Yes.
Dragon. Yeah.
Okay, one more kind of the same area of movies and TV. What are your thoughts and hopes for Fantastic Four? Because I did see that first trailer and I thought it looked really good, and I'm curious to see what are you thinking about the movie? What are
So
your hopes?
Fantastic Four is another, like, never a big Fantastic Four fan. So I'm
Yep.
entering this with an open mind. Uh, and in fact, my hope is, having disliked the previous two incarnations, the
Oh
three
yeah.
movies, two different casts.
That first one wasn't too bad. The very first one they released, it wasn't too bad, but that last one with Michael B. Jordan, terrible casting right there. Terrible
Yeah,
casting.
I couldn't take Jessica Alba as Sue Storm.
Oh.
That ruined. And I mean, I don't. I just the second movie was like PG as well. It was like the first PG Marvel movie.
Oh, I didn't realize it was PG.
It was PG.
Oh yeah, that's pretty rough, especially
Yeah.
all the other stuff that was coming out during that time.
Yeah. So I don't know. And yeah, I I, I mean I didn't like any of those movies, so I am confident that this is going to be the best out of the four. So I'm just happy to see even though I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan, I'm happy to see it done right.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Do you think so? On the trailer, they show Galactus. I keep telling people, like my friends and stuff, I think that's more like a vision of Galactus coming. I don't think he's actually going to play a major role in the movie. But that's just
Mm,
my theory and kind of thoughts. I was like, because I don't, there's no way they introduce Galactus, Fantastic Four, then introduce the Ultimate Nullifier, defeat Galactus all within one
yeah.
movie. I was like, I don't think that's going to be anywhere. I think there's going to be another bigger bad, but not, not big bad like Galactus, but another major enemy in the movie. But I also don't know.
Yeah, my gut is like they don't want to have the Fantastic Four alone in their own 1960s futury version of the MCU, right? They need to get those four characters into 616.
Hmm.
Right. So this movie is not going to play, it can't take place in 616, right? Because it's set in like from, even like the uh some of the pictures we've seen, it's like what the future looked like in 19, in the
Yeah, it looked like the
1960s,
60s.
right?
Yeah.
So we've got to get them from whatever world that is to the 616. Or to Battle World, and then from Battle World to 616. So
Yeah.
I think Galactus is the method that they do that. I think Galactus is going to wipe out their planet and they're going to escape and wind up on Battle World, just like what happened in the second Secret Wars, right? Like they all got on that little spaceship that he made, and he was able to just save a few, just save his family. And yeah, so I think we'll see something like that. Uh,
Okay. So
so
you think they're on another world? Ah, okay.
I think they have to be.
So I thought if it takes place in the 1960s, technically there's still no hero. What about Iron? No, yeah, Captain America. He could be around, right? I was thinking that by the end of the movie, they're going to be sent into space and do some time travel to bring them to the current universe. I didn't consider them to be on a different planet yet or different universe.
I think, and the only reason I think that is if you look at some of like the pictures of New York City that they have, it's
Hmm.
like not our, or not the 616 New York City. It just looks, even back then, more futuristic back then in the 60s. So I think
Gotcha.
it's another, world.
Okay.
Earth 444 or
Right.
something.
Okay. That's actually an interesting theory. I haven't even thought about that. I just thought it would taken place before. But I was like, I guess when was Captain America would have been set? The 1940s. So
Yeah, if it
then
was, yeah, early
yeah,
40s.
so I was trying to think. They would I mean they would have to explain in the movie while Captain America was running around. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't really think that through like that. But I was like Captain America still could have been overseas while they were still in New York. But then they would have mentioned, I don't know, time travel, multiverse. Yeah, it's a lot we can do there.
Yeah, it's pretty messy right now, the MCU,
Yes.
and I get it because they've got to get all the Fox stuff over and they want to pay, and they've got characters like Deadpool and Wolverine that they want to take advantage of while they can, and they don't want to introduce a new X-Men with the old characters because they screwed so much up. Like like I, I'm so, I'll never like get over, how they did Rogue dirty and Mystique and like that whole and Nightcrawler, that whole family.
Yeah.
Like they just screwed that up from the beginning. Um, it's like some of my favorite stories from the Claremont era. So hopefully they've got a chance to redo all that stuff and get it done right. That's what I'm most excited for. Like I am I can't wait to see Marvel doing X-Men from scratch.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm totally ready for that too. It's funny they did that big announcement the other day of like the 5 hour video
Yeah.
of all the chairs, and they brought back the Nightcrawler and Cyclops, Professor X and Magneto. I'm just like, oh man, they're trying to go for it. I was like, I need to. See, I'm still ready to see who they cast as like everybody else. I need to see the official like X-Men universe stuff because
Right.
it's like once that comes out. I'm most excited for more merchandise X-Men related coming out. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to know. I need more hands on X-Men stuff.
Well, hopefully that's just going to be, I think it has to be based on the ages of those characters, right? Like that's not gonna, those characters are not going to exist beyond
Yeah, no way.
uh
Yeah.
the
Was it
the
Secret
next,
World?
yeah, the
Secret
Secret War
Wars.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're just there, whether they die or go off to their regular universe or whatever. And then they get to do a full reboot. And I don't think we necessarily need like the original five X-Men,
Yeah. Talking about like
you
the
know.
OG, the Iceman and Jean Grey.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no. I think they definitely need to go with uh the Claremont people.
yeah. Like nobody gives a shit about Angel, right?
No, no,
Nobody will.
not at
Archangel?
all. Yes, give me
Hell yeah,
that.
I want to see
Yeah.
Archangel. I don't
Yeah.
want to see big-footed, beast. I want to see blue furry beast and not
Right.
the cat-like beast that they did in
Oh, is
the
John Cassidy the Astonishing X-Men?
oh
Is that the
yeah,
cat
yeah.
one? Yeah.
Yeah. Hate that take. And that's what in the McAvoy one, like that look. Hated that look. Love the
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer look, right? Love
Yeah.
that look. Like give me that. Um so yeah, really excited to see what they do with that. Hope they take their time, don't screw it up, get it done right.
I'm gonna be honest, like I feel like I always tell people I think there's Marvel and then there's X-Men. I was like, you have to get the X-Men right, or you might as well hang it up. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna have to get this right, Marvel. Like this is a huge deal. The X-Men are huge. I consider them their own universe outside of Marvel because I feel
Yeah.
like that's just how big they are, and like hopefully they get this right.
Yeah, and growing up, it was I mean, it was like everything in comics. I mean, it really was. I mean, I collected Punisher comics, I collected X-Men, but those two never met. So they might as well have been Marvel and DC, right?
Right.
So it was like I wasn't collecting Marvel, I was collecting Punisher and I was collecting X-Men.
And then those teams grew, and even more comics came out. It's
Yeah.
like you had Excalibur, and you had X Factor, X Force. Like you had all these other, and then then characters started getting their own individual books, their own
Yeah.
individual runs. And I was like, yeah, this is a lot. It's like it's a lot. I
Yeah.
tell people now, I was like, if you want to get into X-Men, I was like, good luck. It's going to be tough.
Yep.
I'm not even going to hold you. It's going to be tough. But if you can stick through and find, I was like, just read the main storylines and maybe look at some side stuff. I was like, the X-Men is kind of tough to follow.
But you
Not
know
even
what? I
gonna
mean,
lie.
comics are, comics probably do a better job maybe than the movies do at set, especially like the old school comics. Like the old school comics would like the first page of every comic would almost retell the
Yeah,
story. And in fact,
previously on.
they still
Yeah,
do that. Like they still, the first page they'll have like a little blurb. Like I got a Laura Kinney Wolverine comic in front of me, and I'm willing to bet if I just take it out. Um, on the first page, yes, healing factor, enhanced senses, deadly sharp claws, the mutant once known as X-23, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, they tell you everything, like the basics. They give you everything you need to know on that front page with the credits. You read that, and then beneath that, they tell they give you a recap of what happened earlier in the arc. They tell
yeah.
you everything you need to know to pick up any comic and run with it. And like, I respect that. Like, fantastic. Anything that gets people to be less afraid of picking up a comic and feeling lost, I am down for. So
If you recommend an X-Men comic, do you start with the kind of older one with I mean we've mentioned his name the whole entire time. Like where do you start it?
Claremont.
Because yeah, Claremont. Do you start at the Claremont age? Let's say it's someone brand new to comics, or do you kind of start them at the most recent run with the, House of X, Powers of X, like that type thing? Like where would you recommend people kind of start at?
Gosh.
I was like, for me, more recently, I've been telling people to like start at House and Powers, but let me give you a little backstory as well to kind of who these characters are. Because it's
Yeah.
like, but also even that's like the House and Power stuff. Like you had to know what was kind of going on kind of before that as well. So it's like
So
it's tough.
I would answer based on whether, like, I would ask them, like, what's your interest in comics? Is it the storytelling or the art? If somebody's like, I really like the art, the storytelling's cool, and it's, but the art that is that what really gets me. I might not go back to the Claremont stuff. Not that the art wasn't good, but it's just not like they
It's
didn't
not
have the
today's.
technology that we have
Yeah,
now. I mean, the colorists today work magic with some of these comics. So, but if they were really in it for the stories, I would just say start with the Claremont run and just go from there because almost every one of those comics is an absolute classic.
yeah,
And to understand how these characters get brought in, uh, like it's tough to, I was talking about Rogue before. It's tough to understand Rogue without remembering that she was on the Brotherhood
right.
in her
Her
first
whole.
appearance,
Yeah,
and that she fucked up Ms. Marvel, now Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and that the two of them would beat the crap out of each other every time they saw each other, even when Carol Danvers was binary,
yeah.
you know, uh, and that she was the adopted child of Mystique and Destiny, uh, like that stuff is like having read those comics, as they were coming out, it's it's hard. It's like once you read a few comics with Rogue in it, and you think, oh, Rogue is all about Rogue and Gambit. It's like, well, yeah, that's obviously really important, but there's all this other important, like Savage Land, Rogue and Magneto is
Yeah.
important. Yeah, so there's these characters have such a rich history, and I remember just reading Weapon X for the first time. Marvel Comics Presents, and like my
Yeah.
mind being blown with that stuff. It's hard to, because Wolverine's mostly got his shit together these days in the comics.
Back then,
But
yeah, he
back
was.
then
You didn't know anything about him.
he was like, especially like in the early Claremont stuff, like he was borderline not a hero. I
Yeah.
mean, he was, they talked a lot about his berserker rages. He was insulting. He was not a team player. Now there's always like the little jokey stuff with Cyclops, but back then it was like,
No,
shit,
they was
man,
really
like,
not liking each other.
yeah, whose side are you on? So yeah, so Claremont, if people are really in it for the story, and then
Yeah, I guess that's where we get all our major storylines from as well. That Claremont age.
oh yeah, every movie that's been made has been,
Yeah.
based on something he's done for sure.
Okay. All right. Now I want to get back into the books,
Let's do
the
it.
MMORPG. So we're gonna talk about some characters that there's a new book. Let me just start. There's a new book coming out.
Yeah.
This one is going to be all based around the Avengers. And so with that, we know we're going to get new characters. So we are going to go with our top five characters we want to see. So I'll start
Oh
it out
God, top five. I have
as
like 20.
I know it's tough. I know it's tough. Okay, so I'll kind of start it out. I don't have any particular order, because I do actually.
I'm gonna cheat, really, just
Okay,
so you know. I'm gonna
okay.
give you like teams and shit.
Oh,
Uh,
I have a team on mine too. I'm not even I got a team on mine as well. So I'll go ahead and start it off. So one of the characters that I want to see, and who knows, maybe we even get some of these right. That'd be crazy if we get it right. But I want to see Hunter's Moon from the new Moon
Mm,
Knight comics. I think he would be an excellent just addition to the group. That I think it could be one that could be introduced in the book as well. And he has been doing a fantastic job fighting alongside Moon Knight and the Midnight Mission in that whole entire group. Like I think he would be one that we could see come up in the book.
yeah, I was thinking about him, and I'm going to say something that might sound weird to you. I hope we don't get him,
Hmm.
because if we don't get him, then that means there's a better chance of us getting a Midnight Suns themed book, right? Because the
Mm.
Midnight Mission is right, so many vampire related stories,
Right.
there. So that might mean they're holding him back, and maybe the whole concept of the Midnight Mission for that. But totally love the character, love Moon Knight, would love to see all of those members. Give me, down to eight ball. Give
Yeah.
give me all of them. Give me Soldier. Give me them all.
And you said like it could be come down, maybe another book comes out. I could think of like a mini one shot, kind of like we got with the Deadpool plays role play.
Mm,
Maybe this one is a whole Moon Knight theme. Maybe you're inside the Midnight Mansion. I keep saying mansion, Midnight mission. Maybe get a whole map for that. It's like, I could see that happening.
that would be cool. Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
All right, so
All
what you
right.
got?
I'm cheating. Cheating big time. I want to see a lot of supporting characters. So characters that you might not necessarily want to play, but
Hmm.
I think are important to have for a lot of Avengers stories. So for me, Doc Samson is one of them, right? Doesn't
Yeah,
often, right? Especially nowadays, like he shows up more as like, when you need a
the
therapy
computer
session with
genius.
somebody, right?
Yeah,
Jarvis,
I was literally
like,
about to say all the different iterations of Jarvis.
yeah, yeah. Rick Jones.
Yeah.
And so here's the one that I would love to see, but I don't think we're going to get. Give me a Lucky the pizza dog.
Is that oh wait, is that the dog from
That's
Hawkeye?
Kate Bishop's. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
yeah,
That's actually be funny.
yeah, yeah. I'd love to see like just have him, you know, give it because there's so many like Avengers pets and stuff. Like
I
I'd
was
love
gonna
to
say we
see
have
what
not
an
got any of
animal.
those.
Yeah, I want to see just kind of like take a stab at it. What would it look like, even if they have to create a new henchman like thing, just to see what that would look like? Because that could just be fun. That's
Yeah.
just fun. Yeah. So supporting characters, I'd love to see.
Yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, you can get like the actual Butler Jarvis, you can get the AI Jarvis,
Yeah.
you can get Friday, like all the other AI that kind of
Yeah.
help Tony Stark out. Um,
Yeah. I was thinking of the human butler Jarvis.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my next one is when this comic came out and when they mentioned these characters, I was all on board for this. Avengers 10,000 BC.
Oh, okay.
I would love to see that. When I read that, I got to see the 10,000 BC version of Ghost Rider. He turned a woolly mammoth into a flaming woolly mammoth. I was like, that was so cool. You got to see the 10,000 version of Iron Fist. You got to see the Black Panther, which I actually forgot his real name. But then you also got to see Odin. I was like, I
Mhm.
don't even have we had Odin in the books?
No.
Okay, so yeah, that I mean, you could do Odin in the book itself or the 10,000 BC version of Odin, but I think it'd be kind of fun. And then you can have a whole little story kind of based in that time period with different Neanderthal,
Yeah.
henchmen. And so I was like, that'd be a good one right there.
I think there's a decent chance we'll get that. And maybe they'll do something where, like what they did with the Spider-Verse book, where they had four characters that were exclusive to the hardcover and then four that were exclusive to Demiplane. Maybe they pick four, like that might be something where they pick four of them to be like the hardcover
Yeah.
exclusive because they're kind of separate from everything else. And maybe you can chunk those up and put them in there if they were looking for space. Yeah.
Do we have a Phoenix yet? Because I was like, Phoenix was part of the 10,000
Yeah.
BC. We do have Phoenix.
Yeah, and we've got the rules for the Phoenix, like having somebody getting the Phoenix Force
Oh, okay, okay,
in the X-Men book. Yeah.
okay. All right. Well, what you got now?
All right. Where do I want to go here? All right. I really want to see the Great Lakes Adventures.
I think we see that one. Everybody wants
Yeah.
those.
I want, especially Doorman. Doorman's my favorite. Um, uh, we one of the first campaigns I played Doorman, we rolled up Fish and I rolled up Doorman as a character. So uh loved that. But yeah, Flatman, Big Bertha, Mr. Immortal, yeah, give me them all.
Yeah, I definitely think we see that group for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Okay, so this one you kind of mentioned talking about pets and everything. Uh, this one I feel like it doesn't have a really good chance of being in the book only because it probably would have been in the X-Men book. But I think this could also introduce kind of like we just talked the pet sidekicks.
Hmm.
Lockheed, so Kitty
Mm,
Pryde's dragon. Like I
mm,
think this would be an opportunity to kind of set rules out for animal pets or side animal sidekicks or just kind of characters like that to start to build off of it. Because I was like, I don't think Lockheed was mentioned in Kitty Pryde's profile.
uh I think
Is Lockheed in there?
yeah, Lockheed was in the X-Men.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
You are right. I literally just searched on Demi Plane.
Yeah.
Let's scratch that one. Let's go to my honorable mention. I got the Avengers AI. So I remember when that comic came out, I wasn't a huge fan of that team. So this team was just completely tech based,
Mm,
um, and they were sort of kind of characters like no one really kind of cared about. I mean, there was Vision, so Vision was on that team. Pretty sure it was either Doctor Doom or Doctor Boom or Doctor Doom Bot. I can't
mm,
remember which one was on that team, but this Avengers team was just basically real tech, and they would kind of deal with a lot of kind of technical stuff. So I was like,
yeah.
I don't know if that would be in there. I think they had a very small run, um, but I was like, it wouldn't be so bad to include that, especially in the age of AI that we're in now.
Mm.
I
So
really didn't
here's
realize Lockheed was there. That's crazy.
yeah. I think I uh had him as a in the adventure I put out, I had him as a playable character with actually I rolled up his own stats, but then later his stats came out and he was like relatively close. I had him at rank 2, like he is in the book. But yeah. Um, so next one that I'll look for, and this one is iffy only because it's not a comic book character, but they have established, some of the profiles, like they have some profiles specifically for the PlayStation Spider-Man games, right? So we know that they're at least, we have some characters that are coming from the Spider-Verse, into the Spider-Verse movie, right? So we know
Hmm.
that there are characters that do not exist in the comics that they have used. Captain Carter.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, really like to see her. Even though, and this might be a good way to use some stunts to make, because I hear people say, oh, well, she's just a gender bent Captain America. It's like, well, maybe there's some things we can do a little different with
I feel
her.
like even when we kept seeing her in What If, I feel like she looked different enough from Captain America. 'Cause I feel like Captain America's nimble, of course, but I feel like she might have been a little more athletic and nimble because she had a smaller frame. And so I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, they could definitely probably separate her.
Yeah,
When you
well,
said Captain Carter, I immediately thought about the TV show Agent Carter.
oh, that would be cool too to have, to have like, like a Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, like, you know, when Steve Rogers took the serum, he was a weakling,
Hmm.
90 pounds wet. Uh, Peggy Carter was a career military woman, so she had more experience than him. She had, more training than him. Um, from the comics, we knew. Sorry, from the Captain America First Avenger movie, we knew she could fire a gun. So she's got training, and she was taller and more physically fit than he was. So giving somebody like that the serum, maybe it took her up a little more than Steve Rogers.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely separate her. She used guns. So yeah, you can. Steve Rogers doesn't really use guns, so you can definitely
Right.
separate it like that. Okay. So my next one. So technically, this character is in the book, but not this version of the character.
Hmm.
So Red Skull, but when he took Professor X's brain.
Mm.
So we know that, Professor X died. It was like a whole big, comic book arc where they were trying to figure out what happened to his brain. We come
Mm.
to find out that Red Skull took it, and then he became basically a powerful psychic, just like Red
Mm.
Skull, just like Professor X did. So I think that would be a good opportunity to kind of switch up this version that we have of Red Skull, because I think Red Skull might be a rank three, I want to say, in the book. And so if you want to rank him up one more, turn him to
Mhm.
a rank four, give him, which I don't even know what rank Professor X is. But
He's a six.
oh, he is a six. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
you can make Red Skull go rank four and kind of give him some of the psychic abilities that Professor X did.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you a question before I give my next one. Um, how deep, so when you think of the Avengers, right? You got Hulk, obviously, and then you got a whole bunch of Hulk villains, and you've got Iron Man and a whole bunch of Iron Man villains. Um, when you think of Thor, you've got Thor, and then you've got nine worlds that come with Thor. It's not just
Yeah,
like a bunch of humans. You've got worlds
right.
and centuries to mine for his supporting cast. So do you think that's something they're gonna tackle, or do you think they might save on to that some of that stuff like for like I don't know if you could do like an Asgardian book or um because if you're gonna tackle there's like so many characters, right? You got to bring in like you mentioned Odin, got to have Odin, got to have Sif,
Yeah, the
should
Warriors three.
probably have the Warriors three, right? Like those are, and then probably Balder. Uh, and then it just goes from there. You got and then we haven't even talked about villains. We got like Malekith in the game, and so it's not like we're
Oh
completely
yeah,
missing, but
they
but
are they are going to have to make this one big. Yeah, if like considering all the things that Thor has and all those worlds. One, you have to do a lot of explaining in the books, kind of like we see the Spider-Man. You got to break down
right.
each character, the adventures they've been on, the worlds, like the worlds themselves, all different, all nine realms. You're gonna have to break all that down. Uh, Characters that's kind of close to Thor, like what's the horse dude? I can't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Oh,
Uh,
Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill, which I
Yeah,
think he's in the book already.
yeah,
And then you're gonna have to break down each character who's kind of held the hammer as well in those different versions of them. Uh, I don't know if they include all this one in the Avengers book. I feel like they would have to save it for another one.
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be
So
like unless they make it bigger.
yeah, yeah, because that's like that's a lot. Like
Yeah,
that is a lot. Um,
yeah, you're gonna have to break down the dwarves, like the elves, like yeah, you're gonna have to break down like kind of all those characters.
yeah,
Each hammer that kind of is going out. Storm's hammer, you got Stormcaster,
yeah,
Stormbreaker. Like yeah, you're gonna have to do a lot. And how to build your own hammer,
yep.
rules for that. Yeah, that would have to be a lot.
And then Thunderstrike,
Yeah.
that's a whole other comic and approach to a
Transform,
character like
which I
that.
think they got transformations now. We've seen it with like the werewolf
Yeah,
thing, but like transform from a human to a god, and what that looks like. Go from rank one to automatic to a rank five or six.
yeah. I feel like if I was like the marketing department, I'd feel like I don't know if an Asgardian book, an Asgardian hardcover would sell. Um, as well as certainly, Avengers, X-Men,
Right.
Spider-Verse. Um, so then you look, well, is there something they can group that into? Like, could they put it into they really couldn't put it into a cosmic. It's not really cosmic. It is kind of its own thing. So
I say do a smaller, like a graphic size, kind of like you have, behind you. Do a graphic
yeah,
novel size, a little bit bigger than what we got with the Deadpool one shot. Make it a
yeah,
little bit bigger than that. Sell it, 15.99 or whatever you want to do. I think sell it like that would probably be like the best way to go. for physical copy. And then of course you can get like the exclusives, kind of like they did with Excalibur, and they had the
Mhm.
release like the whole exclusive thing. I think that'd be the kind of way to go. I don't think it would necessarily cause for a whole huge book like we have the Spider-Man one, but maybe a graphic novel size, a little bit bigger than graphic novel.
Right. Okay, so all that said, my Asgardian pick, if they have, if they lean heavy into Asgard themes things would be. And the way I look at this is I kind of think, well, what are some of the things we're missing in the game and can those gaps be filled? And to date, we don't have, even though the rules talk about henchmen can be ranks one, two, or three. We've only seen ranks one and two.
Hmm.
We haven't seen a rank three henchman. So what would a rank three henchman look like? A frost giant.
I was literally about to say a Frost Giant, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to see like a frost giant in the game because if that's that's his goat, that's Thor's go-to big bad guys. Just go out and bash some
Yeah,
frost
if you
giant
want to let
heads
it
and just
all
have a
loose.
and they always come in, you know, gaggles. It's never just
Right.
one for so it's like that to me that feels like a henchman thing. So yeah, just get a bunch of henchmen. Yes, I'd love to see just a rank three henchman, and I think of Frost Giant's the way to go.
Anytime I think about the Frost Giants, I always immediately go back. I think it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance, either one or two. It might be the first one when you go to the realm of the Frost Giants, and they're just like massively off the screen, and
Yeah.
you're just like fighting. That's like the first thing I think about for some reason when I think of those. Um, but it's funny. I just create characters all the time. I like to use Demi Plane a lot, honestly, for creating
Yeah.
characters. I think they have the. I mean, they are the best, character creation. But I actually created a character called Winter's Empress, and she is basically an Asgardian lawyer, and she carries on a gavel, even though she's a lawyer. But I was like a gavel judge. Uh, but I was like, that's her choice of weapon, and she can also do. I was messing around with ice powers
Uh,
and using the um like the fog and all that. Like I gave her
mhm,
all those abilities just because I was kind of playing around with it. But I was like, that was my first kind of Asgardian character that I created.
mm,
But okay. So I have one more character, just for this part, which I don't think this is going to be here, but I was like, I don't think we have not seen this character yet in the book. I guess we could kind of see it, especially if they go into the Savage Land.
mm,
But that would be Sauron
mm.
from the X-Men, our pterodactyl,
Yeah.
half man, half pterodactyl, whatever you want to call them. I think if they do the Savage Land, kind of break that area out, give us a map for that, give us the rules for a Savage Land. Um, I mean, we've seen it in the what was that adventure? Murder World. You go to the Savage World there, but that one, of course, wasn't super fleshed out. I
Mm,
think you give us more and then introduce us to Sauron and even Khazar and I always forget the
mm,
tiger's name. But yeah, give us characters like that. I think that would be a kind of a good addition to the book as well,
mm.
because Avengers go to the Savage Land too.
Yeah. And then for my last one, I guess I'll just point, well, a couple ways I can go. One is I think we're going to see versions of existing characters, and you just look at the updates that they've made in Demiplane, and you can kind of see maybe how they're prepping for Avengers, right? And I
Hmm.
love looking for those little clues because Demiplane and Marvel are always looking to the future, and they're always, sharing ideas, and everything they do in Demiplane is for a reason. And you look at, you mentioned the werewolf stuff in the different forms. And if you look at what Emma Frost can do, she can bounce back and forth between her diamond form and her default form now. So that's really
Hmm.
cool. So I'd love to see like an Iron Man build where you can be like, all right, I'm in my Hulkbuster suit now. And you have a little toggle or a dialogue, or you can just, all right, I'm gonna click on my Hulkbuster, and then it changes everything, and now you're looking at the Hulkbuster
Yeah,
version. So I hope they do something like that. Would be really cool if they did that for Banner and the Hulk. But aside from that, you probably should have I'd love to see a Savage Hulk
yeah.
and then like a Joe Fixit Gray Hulk as well. 'Cause I
Hmm.
think those are different enough from the version of the Hulk that we've got in the game that they demand a separate profile.
Yeah, and even yeah. So I was like, I knew you were going to mention Iron Man because I was like,
Mhm.
that's literally an easy one for them to do. All the different Iron Man builds, that's so easy. What I did not expect was the Hulk one. That is very good because yeah, there's all different versions of the Hulk. I mean, you got the Artemis Cho version of the Hulk.
Amadeus. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Armadeus.
yeah. We got
Yeah.
him in the book. Braun. He's under Braun.
Oh, okay. Oh, they changed it. Okay.
Yeah,
Because I was just thinking him as the indestructible Hulk.
yeah. But there's
Um,
the there's the red She-Hulk
yeah.
too that isn't in the game yet. We could get her.
Yeah. So I didn't even think about that, like all the different versions of the Hulk that we've seen. Um, so yeah, that's a good point.
Mm.
I'm curious,
Now, the
just
one thing we didn't really mention a lot of is villains, right? See, hopefully, at least half of what we're going to see are villains, or close to half, because we got to have some guys to beat up.
yeah.
Ares would be a great one to have.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
he bounces back and forth, but Zax, Living Laser,
Is Grim Reaper on there?
Dracula. I'd love to see Dracula.
Yeah. Or even what's the dragon? Oh wait, is Dragon Man?
The
Dragon
Dragon
Man.
Man, yeah, he'd be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even oh yeah. I don't think we'll see a Fing Fang Foom, but
Yeah, I
who
wonder
knows?
if I wonder if I
Because like
think
that
he's
would be like
probably
a
yeah, I don't know if
cosmic.
he yeah, I think he could probably do him as a six. I don't think he's like an X.
Yeah. Also in these books too, I enjoy, which I wish Demi Plane would do. I wish Demi Plane just had like a section just for maps, because of course we get the maps in the
Oh,
book,
yeah.
but I just want like a whole separate section for maps. So when I'm actually, when it's actually fully integrated with Roll20, I can just
Mm.
easily pull those maps over to where I need them at. So yeah, I once they fully get integrated, like I can just search on Roll20 and it'll automatically pull the maps.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Because
You should
like I
drop that in the demiplane
actually did one
Discord.
the other
Yeah.
day. I didn't do it on this. I'm terrible at using Discord. I'm gonna be honest. I know Discord. I know it's easy, and I bet it's easy. Only thing I know how to do on Discord is literally message people, and like I'm in other stuff. But I literally have no idea what to do. But I did submit one recently on, I think it was Marvel's website, to where you can get the feedback to Demiplane. I submitted something there recently, so I think I'll try to do the level thing on there as well. I'm curious, what other kind of what? Oh, I was gonna mention maps, because I would love to see, more recently in the comics, the Avengers have been home inside of a celestial.
Mm.
I think they're still there. I've checked out. It's been about a couple months since I've read. But I was like, new maps. You can get the Celestials living inside there. Of course, you get the inside to kind of all the other places they hang out. Um, but I'm also, what other characters you got on your list? I'm just curious.
Um,
Or teams, I should say as well.
Cersei,
Yeah.
love to see Cersei. Gilgamesh was actually pretty big he was on the Avengers for a
Mm-hmm.
while. Uh, and the other thing is I'd love to see a couple of organizations, and then maybe just regular, so Roxxon and Hammer
Mm-hmm.
specifically. Like, I'd really like to see, and if we do get like a map, like, I'd love to see. I mean, it's great to have maps for, like, yeah, like when they have, Excalibur, you have the lighthouse for the X-Men expansion, but uh I'd love to have maps that I could use as, all right, let's go to the bad guys place and take them out. So I'd love to have like a Roxxon,
Mm-hmm.
map, or a Hammer related map, something that I could actually use as part of more easily as a part of an adventure. And then of course have a couple of henchmen related to either Roxxon or Hammer.
Yeah, and I bet you they break down more of these evil organizations as well. Of course, we've already seen AIM and Hydra, but I bet you they go into more detail and kind of
Mm.
hierarchy of these teams, um, and like who's at the top, what the henchmen look like, how to build the henchmen out, characters to consider for adventures that
Mm.
kind of deal with these people. We know Modoc is big in the AIM, but continue to kind of go more in depth with these teams as well, these
That could be a
organizations.
that could be a hardcover. That
Yeah.
could be its own hardcover right there for
Yeah.
sure. I would buy that in a second. Yeah. And then there's other things, there's like when you think of like the kind of stunts that could be in the game, or uh iconic weapons. Like, I really hope Hawkeye gets some love one way or the other. So one way you can give Hawkeye a little boost is to maybe give him some stunts that try to recreate some of his trick arrows.
Oh, they have to do the Ant-Man one, like as
Oh
a
yeah.
stunt.
Oh yeah,
They
100%.
have to do that one.
That was something, yeah, 100%. And maybe that's like a twist on the fastball special,
Yeah, actually, yeah,
you
it could be.
know?
It's like if you have the power to shrink, then you obviously have the opportunity to pull that off.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of things they can do. Yeah, but yeah, like look at the books, look at all the iconic stuff that happens in the books and try to bring that in. Yeah.
You know what? I just thought about your earlier comments about Wolverine and Laura Kinney. As a stunt for Wolverine, which when they did in the comics, I don't know why they did it. It didn't make any sense to me. But give Wolverine his flaming claws as a stunt.
Oh, yeah.
When they introduced that, I was like, why does he need flaming claws? So I was like, he can literally cut through everything and just burn.
Yeah,
But I
what
was
is the
like,
fire gonna do that the adamantium isn't gonna do?
right. But I was like, if you create a character who has a blade and maybe fire powers, which I guess they can use like elemental infusion or something.
Right.
But I was like, I mean, that can be some type of stunt as well. But
Yeah, right. Yeah, have it apply, instead of bleed, set them ablaze. Yeah.
right. So, okay. All right. So now we've been talking about the book, and of course, in like the X-Men expansion and also the Spider-Verse expansion, we see kind of storylines or kind of events within, the realm of that universe, you want to call it or whatever. But what type of storylines do you think, we could see, and or what would you want? Basically, if you run a campaign, an adventure, what adventure or what comic story arc you want to see?
Hmm.
If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
started the
good.
last one. I'll let you start this one out.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on a couple that I've started already working on. So one of them, I mentioned season two of Punisher. Um, I think that is a great sort of area to play with, and not necessarily even playing the Punisher, but I love the supporting cast of that comic so much. I like built them all out in Demiplane. So if anyone's seen it, it's like Amy Bendick, which is the kid that the Punisher saves in the first episode. Uh, Curtis Hoyle, who appeared in previous ones. Agent Madani, who was in season one as well. So you got all these characters, and you could even bring in like a Karen Page, right? You can start them all off at rank one and have them like function as a team quite nicely, and then you can go into what if land and have them rank up in all sorts of weird, crazy ways that diverge from the comics and the show. But yeah, it's like that's a show I love so much. I'm like, and I ran an adventure in it. I took all of those characters and I ran my Blood Hunt party through a one shot on it, and it turned out really well. Like the characters all gelled really well together, and I'm it went over so well. I actually talked to Brian Patterson, who is the artist that's done all of the maps for every Marvel RPG game,
Hmm.
MMORPG game that's come out. I talked to him about commissioning a map just for this adventure
Oh,
and
nice.
and then putting it out. So yeah, so more to come on that, but
That's pretty cool.
yeah, I just love that season so much. It's like it just inspires me to like I just want to keep things going. Like I had so much fun with that. I'm not going to get another season with these characters. We'll probably never see those characters again. So why not take them as your own and
Hmm.
develop them any way you want to develop them? So like, this idea that like Curtis Hoyle in this show, he's got a leg. He's missing one of his legs, the lower part of one of his legs that actually happened while he and Frank Castle were in combat together back in the day. and it's something that Frank, I think, felt a little guilty about because he maybe could have protected it. So it hinders him a little bit, but if we play in comics, maybe he gets a little shield or a little Stark tech, to replace that. And maybe he could do, he could have a couple of powers like a ground shaking stomp. You could give him a
Yeah.
power like that. So yeah, take these normal human characters and let your imaginations go wild.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they do it all the time. I feel like James Gunn, he did it with uh uh what's his name? John Cena's character.
Oh, Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Like
Yeah, yeah,
he had a character that was kind of lesser known. He turned it into something else.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, why can't we do the same thing? All right. So I really enjoyed the storyline when it came out, and I thought it'd be a pretty fun one to do. So in the comics, Wolverine died, and so there were four different groups basically, or he didn't die. Or did he? Oh, spoiler alert to it, he died. But they were looking for him. So this was called the Hunt for Wolverine.
Right.
And during this time, it was four different groups kind of looking for him, and I thought it'd be a great adventure to have also their own group out here looking for what happened to Wolverine. So you'll get to kind of investigating. You get to do a lot of that. You get to go to all these other, these other countries or worlds. You go to
Mm,
Madripoor, go to New York. You really doing a lot of looking around for Wolverine, and then to ultimately end up to kind of where that story kind of left off at from where you find him. That would be kind of the ultimate end goal for me to kind of have the group kind of find him and see what happened to him.
that's cool.
But I think that'll be a fun adventure for that one for sure.
That's cool. I like that idea. Uh, so my next one, and you're gonna sense a theme here. It's like Fuzzy likes a show, Fuzzy doesn't want it to end, or Fuzzy can't wait until the next season comes out. So, uh, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Okay.
Love that show. Um, Generated a lot of the character. We don't have a ton of sort of superhero characters yet in that show. Like Norman Osborn doesn't have any powers or hasn't displayed any. We saw a glider, but he hasn't gone goblin yet.
Hmm.
But created Tombstone as a character, created Finesse as a character. Created Scorpion as a lower rank version than he is in the Spider-Verse. So, just another, and I also like playing the lower ranks too. I think that's fun to play the lower ranks, and especially for these established characters, and then rank them up. Uh, so yeah, so I think that would be a fun world to play in because there's enough differences that were established from the very first episode, right? Doctor Strange does something that prevents Spider-Man from going to the high school he's supposed to, where he would meet Mary Jane or,
Hmm.
you know, Flash Thompson. And then he goes to a completely different school and he meets a completely different group of supporting characters. So it's like this big fat what if. And that's so much fun to me. So yeah, would love to play a little of that before season 2 comes out.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm halfway through it, so I'm looking forward to kind of watching it. Hopefully, my daughter doesn't continue watching it without me because that's what happened. We were watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we were watching it together. And one day, I didn't have the time, and next thing I know, she finished all the season. I was like, wow, okay, I see what we did there. Um, Okay, so actually we mentioned this one earlier, but I won't spend too much time on it. I want to do Moon Knight in the Midnight Mission. I want to do that, but from the perspective of villains trying to infiltrate the Midnight Mission.
Mm,
So I want to be able to go and think I'm about to take down Moon Knight and his entire group, but we end up getting trapped inside the Midnight Mansion, and it's continue to kind of mismatch into different things, kind of playing on our fears and everything.
mm,
I want to be able to just kind of experience that whole thing, fight against Eight Ball and Tigra and all these people, and then ultimately end up where Moon Knight is. Like I want to be hate for him to be the ultimate person that we end up fighting,
ooh.
to even think we'll be able to take him down, and then the house just completely obliterates us at the end. So it's like I want to be able to play through through that, but from the perspective of villains. Because I don't play with villains too often, and so I think it'd be kind of fun to actually play with the villains and have the sinister plot, being able to use that as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, Another one, and you and I talked about this off screen a little bit, off mic, uh, is the TV show The Gifted,
Ah, yeah,
which for people who don't know, there is this TV show that for whatever reason didn't get a lot of love. And it's got characters like Polaris and the Cuckoos.
which was
And
that when I saw them, I was like, oh wow, they really pulled that out. But yeah,
no, they did them so well.
yeah,
They only
I
had
was not
three of them.
expecting them to show up at all. But yes,
Yeah, and Blink is in it,
yeah,
and
the
Thunderbird is in it. Although he's kind of like a mix between both of the
yeah,
Thunderbird and Warpath, but um, really really well done. And the world building is really cool because it's this world where the X-Men are just gone. They're not there anymore. So the most powerful mutants are gone, and the anti-mutant hate is strong because there are these all sorts of these incidents that where people died, innocent people died, and they have to survive in these like little safe houses, and they're always on the run, and it's almost got like a near post-apocalyptic feel to it, where they're all of these mutants are living off the grid, and that's just such an exciting thing to role play. So I'd love to either run or play in a game like that.
yeah. Just quickly on that show. Yeah, I don't know why no one watched that show. Like when I heard it was like related to the X-Men, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like there was no question about it. I knew I was gonna watch it. But yeah, not a lot of people have seen that show, and I didn't understand. Like I don't know if they didn't. I thought they marketed it well because I remember when it was coming out. I thought I saw it everywhere. I remember
Yeah,
seeing it everywhere, but everyone I talked to like did not watch that show.
yeah, and I like. I mean, it's a TV show, right? So it's not you're not gonna get the gritty blood everywhere, so it's but for a fairly PG TV show, I thought it was good. And like emotionally, like the first few seasons where like you go through these characters that started off like as regular humans, kind of like on the side of humanity, and then they meet people and they understand what mutants go through.
Yeah,
I mean, it hits you in the feels, and like always, the stories of the X-Men are so good because you can apply it to so much. Unfortunately, you can apply it to so much. You're talking about living in a world that hates and fears you. I mean, shit like that going on today, just like it was in the 60s when the X-Men came out. So,
right.
uh, yeah, like exploring those themes would be challenging. I don't want to say fun, but it would be challenging and maybe rewarding as well.
That was also the first time I got introduced to the Fenris twins, which though they have a profile in the book too. But before that, I had no idea who they even were.
Yeah, so my my 13-year-old wants to play one of them.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and my 9-year-old doesn't. So we'll have to figure out how
I was
we
like,
how we
yeah,
do
to
that.
play them, I was like, you gotta have both because
Yeah,
I played
yeah,
with them. I was like, yeah, you gotta have both of them right there.
yeah.
So also, I didn't realize I don't even know which it could be my memory, and I'm trying not to look it up. But the main character, the guy who could do like the lights or the flash, who was he
Yeah,
supposed to be?
I think he might have been made up for the show. I
Okay,
might be getting
because
that wrong, but he wasn't supposed to be like, I don't know, Sunspot or anything like that. He wasn't a
okay,
well-known Eclipse, I think his name
okay, because I was watching, and I
was.
was like, I do not know who this guy is supposed to be or what he is, but okay,
Yeah, and it might have just been like they only, I mean, you can imagine the the characters that they could have used, were probably fairly limited.
yeah,
Um, so um they probably had a very short list. And like some of the other ones, like Shatter is one of them. Like a lot of very uh, hardly known characters. I'm surprised they got Polaris.
Oh, well, I was too. I
Yeah.
was too. And they hinted to Magneto being her dad and everything. I don't remember them
Yeah.
explicitly saying it, but I remember they hinted a lot at it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
they said it without saying his
right.
name. Like they never said Magneto, but they said, pretty clearly
Like
like
my father
your
was like the
dad.
most hated, mutant out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
like what they did in the Legion show, which is another amazing
Again,
X-related
I think more
show.
people watched that one though. I
More
remember a
people
lot of
watch
people.
that.
Yeah, a lot of people like
That
that
was
one.
a, and that would be another really fun one. And that's the same kind of thing. Like everyone's on the run,
Hmm.
especially season one of Legion. Like that would be a really fun world to play
Oh
into.
man, Shadow King, I feel like I can get on a tangent. They did an amazing job with Shadow King for Legion. And I heard that originally Shadow King is a guy, but she did so well on her um
Aubrey
yes, on
Plaza.
her
Yeah.
on her initial kind of, trying to get the role that they transformed that role just for her.
No, she
I was
was
like she did an amazing job.
amazing. And it's funny, you think of the rules we got for the mental duels in the X-Men expansion.
Hmm.
It's like, man, I got to figure out a way to work dance battles into those rules because like those scenes were so much fun and so well choreographed and like really really enjoyed the creativity. I mean, that show is just everything about that show, the acting, the production, the sound, everything about that show is fantastic.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job. I also see that Guardians one ending with the dance battle you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I just see the ending there. But okay, so my next one is, and I think this one a pretty safe one. I feel like, but I think it would still be fun to run. Secret Invasion. I mean,
Mm,
I feel like there's no need for me to like really super explain it, but of
yeah.
course you don't know who to trust. And I think just going through that world of Secret Invasion, not knowing who to trust, not knowing anything about scrolls or anything, like introducing to your character the characters to, oh, this is a really good person, you should trust them, and then to automatically have that person flip transform to a scroll. Now you don't know who to trust. And why I think the comic did so well at that, I think it'd be fun to play an actual version of that as well.
I would have too much anxiety playing in a game like that.
I know it's like you don't even know if you could trust your party that you're with.
Yeah. Can I trust myself? Am I a scroll?
I
I
know,
just
yeah, because freaking was it Tony Stark? Yeah, Tony Stark. He questioned himself so much in the comics that he didn't know
yeah.
whether he was or not. So it's like, yeah, that would be a super fun adventure to play.
Yeah. And then my last one is a weird one, but I'm gonna say uh the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh
And
yeah,
what
that
I
was.
mean by that is I love the world they set up where they've taken over nowhere and
Hmm.
they've got this as a base of operations and you've got all of these people running around doing stuff. And I'm like, what are they doing? What are their jobs? Is this like a, are there other ships that can come here and use it as a base of operations to go off and explore and do something else? So like almost like a lower rank version of the Guardians where you don't have like a rank with Drax rank 5, I think,
Hmm.
so you don't have like these super powerful characters. Star-Lord is a rank 5 as well, if I recall. I think
Uh,
he's higher than I thought he should be.
I would say if he's a rank five, I was thinking rank four for him. But if he's a
Yeah.
five, that might be a little too high.
Yeah, let me check
I feel,
that.
I feel like people, I don't want to say overestimate Star Lord, but yeah, I don't see him as the same category as like a Thor.
Yeah, he's a rank 5.
That is crazy.
He's a rank 5.
Yeah, that's a little. Which, yeah, I don't know what qualities will make him a rank five. That's the thing. It's like loses blasters. And I mean, I might be ignorant to say, but I was like, I don't think he has anything else he could really do.
Yeah, he's got a lot of different, like he's got like a bunch of tactic stuff.
I was like, get the leadership stuff. Yeah.
He's got some like martial arts stuff. he's got a lot of things related to his tech. He's got like illumination, levitation, but then he's got a lot of other like he's got a ton of basic things
Oh
like
no, he's somebody you can do stunts for.
yeah,
I would say
yeah,
because he can switch his blasters kind of in and out of whatever he needs it for.
right, yeah, and he's got the iconic weapon for that where it basically says, pick. It doesn't say
Okay, so
any, but yeah,
okay, yeah, that I could see him with stunts.
yeah, but yeah, and he's got a ton of elemental control, which are all related to the gun. Um, yeah,
Rank
but
5 is kind of
still,
high
that's
though.
five
That's
five. It doesn't he doesn't feel like five to
yeah.
me either. But anyway, I'd much rather play in like a small or even uh like a Starjammers. Like use that as a home base for like the Starjammers. That would be cool.
Were they in the X-Men book? I don't.
Not
I'm
no.
su-
I
I'm
think
actually
Hepzibah wasn't.
yeah. I'm actually surprised. I
His
want okay.
dad Corsair wasn't.
So then I wonder. Let's say after the Avengers book, if they go with a cosmic book.
Yeah, or space.
Yeah, like
Specifically.
right.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's so much out there that you can still
Yeah, because so
explore.
many you can do like instead of like at the beginning of the book, instead of having teams like you had in X-Men, or instead of having individual spider people like you had in Spider-Verse, you could have individual alien races. So you can have the Badoon, you can have the Brood, you can have
Hmm.
the Shi'ar, you can have the Kree, the Skrulls. Really dig into all of these alien races. And then yeah, do the Starjammers. Um, do characters like Gladiator and Starbird,
Yeah, all those from
all
Shi'ar
that
Empire.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I
would be
wonder.
fun because that could be like I could see that as a very almost episodic kind of campaign,
Hmm.
like uh like uh like the Firefly show or like Star Trek, where it's like, you've here's today's game. We're gonna go, like we got a job to do. We're gonna go to this planet, we're gonna steal the thing, we're gonna come back, and nothing's
Yeah,
gonna go according to plan.
yeah. I mean, they can all. Yeah, that'd be like all the Planet Hulk stuff as well.
Yeah.
Introduce all that stuff. So, yeah, I wonder if they do go with a space cosmic because then you can also do like more in depth with Celestials
Mhm.
and keep going more in depth with Eternals or even like the one above all, like all the hierarchy
Yeah.
of all the space characters.
And space rules for
Eternity.
space combat,
Yeah.
ships, the vehicles you could put in there.
Oh
You
yes.
can do the Milano, you can do so many of these, the Starjammer ship.
Hmm.
You could do so many different things in there. Yeah, I hope they have a space themed one. I'd love to see like a Fantastic Four one, a Magic slash Midnight Suns one, a space one. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots for them to do.
And then my last one, I think I might have mentioned this last time as well, but my all-time favorite story, I always have to tell people this is one that's probably when I tell people to read the most, but Marvel's Kurt Busiek,
Yeah.
Alec Ross. I play that one from a perspective of a level one character. I would say probably two at the max. Like
Mhm.
you never go higher than one or two, but you are basically experiencing this world with all these different things happening. You see the android Human Torch, like you're in the crowd
Yeah.
trying to figure out like what we're looking for. You see the rise of mutants, so now you have to, try to deal with mutants coming at you, fighting you. Galactus is like, how do you run and hide and make sure like this one is gonna be completely like narrative. And I feel like there would be some action, but I would want this one to be more narrative driven. I
Mhm.
think that would be kind of a fun one to experience.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
But okay, well, Plezzy, I've had a great time talking with you again. You make for excellent conversation. It is just it flows kind of so naturally, and it's just easy to talk to you. So I definitely appreciate you stopping by again.
My pleasure. I mean, I love talking to you. Geeking out on this stuff is joyful to me. So absolutely anytime you want to have me come on and babble for a couple of hours, I am down.
Yeah, I forgot to mention at the beginning, but I mean, anybody who's listening to my podcast, obviously, I know they know who you are, but tell them again where they can find you, your socials. A little shout out. I should have in the beginning, completely didn't think about it, but tell us where they can get in contact with you and
Yeah, so
find you.
I'm fuzzy on the details on pretty much everywhere. But you can go to fuzzyonthedetails.com. And I've got collected, all the credit goes to the community here. I'm just kind of collecting it, doing the easy part. But we've got over 2,000 profiles, fan-made profiles, which is amazing. Guys like Perry Lee Rummel and Billy Mickle, Brennan's on there, a whole bunch of guys, Brennan O'Regan. And then we've got a bunch of adventures too. So we've got over 2 dozen now full adventures, not one shots, full adventures that people have done, put up there. And these are folks that, they've been curated, so, people who are open to feedback, who play test. So all of them are pretty solid. So yeah, go there, check that stuff out. I'm trying to get more active on Blue Sky, so search for me at Fuzzy on the Details on Blue Sky. Try to be active there. And by the way, it's a great place to chat with some Marvel folks. I had a couple conversations with both the author and the artist for Laura Kinney Wolverine, and I got a chance to meet the author just a couple weeks ago. Get an autograph from her at a local show. Uh, Hear a little background information on some stuff that might be making its way into an upcoming comic because I've actually used some of her previous Blood Hunt comics for my actual play.
Hmm.
And I got to actually talk to her about some stuff related to that. And there's like inspiration that will absolutely be making its way into my next video. So yeah, that's and of course, check out my videos on YouTube.
Okay, I've heard of Blue Sky, but I have not been on there. Maybe I'll have to check out Blue Sky. I'm also pretty terrible at social media. Like we have social media, but I feel like we never really push our social media or like update it, of course. We try to update it once a week, but all the guys on the channel are pretty badly using social media. So,
Yeah, yeah. What I'll say is I tried Twitter and I just didn't like it. I felt like the bots were so out of control. I felt like it was a lot of fake stuff and I couldn't actually reach anyone. But on Blue Sky, it's like, I mean, that's how I got in contact with Brian Patterson.
hmm.
I followed him, you know, reached out to him a couple times there, had a couple back and forths, and uh, I'll give you a little spoiler alert coming up on the channel. Um, I'm gonna have a villain one shot that will be a tie-in to the Blood Hunt campaign I've got going on, and Mr. Brian Patterson will be playing
Oh,
in the game. So,
I'll say I'm
and we're
definitely gonna be
working
checking that one
on
out.
we're working on a couple other known people in the community. It's not all it's not all solid yet, but folks that have so far Billy Mickle, who's one of the folks who's created like 500 plus profiles,
Hmm.
will be on it. Cranky Robo, who's one of the moderators of the Discord, and Brian Patterson, and then reaching out for one other special guest. But all people that you probably have heard their names if you're a MMORPG super fan, you probably have heard these names and or seen them post before. Definitely people who have contributed meaningfully to the game.
Well, definitely looking forward to that one. I'll try to check out all actual plays that I can, um, because I really enjoy seeing other people's perspective on like being a narrator. Because of course this is my first time, so I like to see how other people do it. And I will say those folks over at Glass Cannon, oh my goodness, that is what I strive to be as a narrator. They are amazing.
Yeah, yeah, they are. But they got, I gotta remember like this is what they do for a living.
Yeah, you're
These
right.
guys have GM'd or narrated thousands of games. So for anyone listening, if you want to put something out there, don't feel like it's gotta be, Don't be held back by like the glass cannons. Like, there's only one glass cannon.
Yeah,
And I love them. I absolutely love them. But yeah, just get your stuff out there because you'll never be a glass cannon if you don't put
yeah,
your first one out. So
you are absolutely right.
just just like you did, be brave, put your stuff out there, be open to feedback, uh, and just keep playing and keep getting better. Yeah.
And with that, I will conclude this, and I ask the audience, let us know what are some of your favorite characters that you maybe want to see in the Avengers book, or what are some things you want to see in the upcoming Avengers book, and just kind of what are your thoughts on kind of overall the Spider-Man book, X-Men book, or just game overall. So definitely reach out and let us know. And with that, we will see you later.
Thanks, Jordan.